Всем хай. Мы играем в Vampyr. Так. Тут вот вообще не очевидная херня, как выяснилось. Я не понимаю, зачем так делать. Окей. Нам надо куда-то добежать. Да блин, ты можешь побыстрее бегать.
You're sure you don't come back with me?
Nah, I have to see someone at the hospital.
Be careful. You look so bad they may keep you as a patient.
Fuck 'em. I don't like hospitals or doctors.
Well then, when you go back to Whitechapel, you may find this useful.
What is it?
A pass for a free medical exam by the best nurse available. Just read it.
I don't read well, but thank you, I guess.
Ох ты ж, блин. Серьезно? А как ты через решетку прошел, которая 3 секунды назад была закрыта, а? Баба, кстати, уплыла. Ай, блин. Иногда логика этой игры меня, мягко говоря, поражает. Так, я так понимаю, сейчас будет очень весело, да? О, по-моему, кого-то схрумкали. Говорится, я могу ошибаться, но... Может быть, мне стоит... Сейчас скажу, что... На. Так. Левая рука, так, старый револьвер. Мне подсказывает, что кол мне тут особо не поможет.
This man has been savagely attacked and dragged to the floor.
Ну не можешь дышать, не дыши, что ты. В самом деле-то. Так, мелочевка какая-то. О, привет. Ага. Нам, значит, как-то туда надо, да? Ой, как все прекрасно. Ёбаный насос. Четыре всего. А вот это интересно. Образцы Святого Павла. Я бы посоветовал членам нашего клуба с большой настороженностью относиться к этим так называемым ученым. Да, большинство относится к нам дружелюбно и с уважением, но для членов такого закрытого клуба, как Скалон, было бы крайне неумно говорить о наших целях, наших товарищах и наших традициях. Я бы также хотел напомнить о том, что сам братство достаточно древний, и у него довольно таинственные традиции. Одна из них, по сообщениям наших информаторов, может быть ритуал под названием «Изгнание дракона». Похоже, при определенных условиях члены братства Святого Павла проводят этот ритуал, если находят агрессивного или кровожадного бессмертного. В чем именно он заключается, я не знаю. Существует ли он на самом деле? В этом я тоже не уверен. Но мне удалось установить следующее. Каждый, представляющий угрозу для Лондона, вампир бесследно исчезал после того, как просто проводил против него ритуал изгнания. Сам Фергал Банша был достаточно умен, чтобы не бросать вызов братству. Этот урок должен запомнить каждый из нас. Нельзя допускать, чтобы братство объявило тебя драконом. Так. Оу. Это мне это все совсем не нравится. Помойное уебище.
What sort of creature is this?
Да блин.
Here's what's left of it.
Вроде отъехал.
Not a lot to check, but I should anyway.
Так, интересная зверушка. А если вы больны, если у вас нет денег, неважно кто вы, неважно откуда, обращайтесь за помощью к Доротее. Никакого обмана, никакой платы, никаких вопросов. Просто найдите дом Дариуса Петреску и покажите этот купон. Ну и там, собственно, то же самое на каком-то чешском.
What is Nurse Crane up to? I really must find her.
Так. Вот мне только помойных монстров не хватало. Для полного, так сказать, счастья. Так, это... Кому там опасность-то угрожает? Слышь, мужик, с тобой вообще все в порядке, не?
Are you injured, sir?
Help me get out of here. I need to get out.
I'm Dr. Reed, and I'd be glad to help you, but you must calm down first. Please, take a deep breath and tell me your name.
Okay. Okay, I'm Oswald
Ah,
Thatcher. Please, I need to get out.
Mr. Thatcher, your friend Newton sent me to help you. Do you remember him?
Yes, I do.
Good. Now leave this place and enjoy the cool night air. It's quite invigorating. I'm sure you'll feel better if you do.
Давай, пиздуй. Развели, блядь, деятелей. Так. Всякие херцы тут себе нахватали. Так, нам, собственно, что? Нам Уайтчепел нужен. Здорово, скотина тупая. Говна-то развелось. Ладно.
Is this supposed to be an hospital? A pigsty hospital there.
Так, интересно. Уайтчепл-стрит. Не хочу с вами связываться, блять. Я с вами один раз связался. Меня так, блять, покоцали. Ох ты ж, сука. Сука. Где ты есть-то, а? Реально сволота.
More and more of these bloody leeches every night. Aye. Smells like garbage with more and more of these.
An leech! An leech! Shit, that leech is fast!
Ох ты ж гнида. Сука.
Whitechapel. This neighborhood is linked somehow to the kind Lady Ashbury's blackmail. First, let's find this Petrescu fellow.
Текс. Будет вам и Петреску, и Димитреску, и прочего треску. Ой, как у вас тут весело. Ой, как интересно.
Stinking alley reeking worse than a week-old lavvy.
Are you all right?
The bastard hit the wall next to me. I don't even know if he meant to miss.
If you've been hurt, I can help you. I'm a doctor.
Name's Albert. Remember it. Now bugger off.
What happened? Did you really steal that man's medication?
Hey, I didn't do anything. It ain't me.
All right. Perhaps the poor drunk just confused you with someone else.
Sod off, mister. You ain't got no clue what's going on here. Bastard was a soldier in the war, so now he's got the right to shoot me.
It's true. I'm not familiar with this part of town. Perhaps you could help me.
I said sod off. Go find yourself another guide.
Ой, какой ты вежливый парень, а? Я прям хуею.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? If you know anything about her, I'd appreciate it.
Never heard of her. She's pretty, I'll keep an eye out.
Goodbye.
Ой, блин.
End up another drunk arsehole littering the streets. Not me.
Здорово.
Shooting a boy in the middle of the street. Not the best thing to do, wouldn't you say?
What? You saw what happened? Who are you?
I'm Dr. Reed, and I'd like to ask you a few questions, if you promise me to set your gun aside.
No. Look, I'm not a violent man. I'm Benjamin Palmer, doctor. And no one can help me. Not even you.
Так, окей.
What can you tell me about this place?
Nothing to say, really. This is where I used to live, and this is where I live now.
You don't have anywhere to go? No family that would welcome you?
Not since the death of my wife, Albert's mother.
Ох
She
ты,
was sick.
ты еще и папаша его.
Long before the flu and all this shit.
You mean you used to have a better life?
Yeah, I had a wife, a home, and a job. I even used to have a name. Now I'm just Ben. Ben the Tramp.
Окей.
Perhaps you could focus for a moment and tell me your troubles.
I'm sick, broke, and my son just stole my pills. Everything's coming up roses.
Окей.
Whatever the boy did, I'm sure he didn't deserve a public execution.
I swear I didn't want to hit him. It's just that I'm sick in the end, you see, and the boy he just frayed me last nerve.
Так.
What is it, Benjamin? It was the war, wasn't it? Your nerves are shot, aren't they? I need some answers, Private. From one soldier to another.
The doctors called me a liar, a coward. Put me in a straitjacket, locked me up. Finally, they sent me back to the front lines with a handful of tablets.
It's a pity that doctors still practice such barbaric methods. It's a dishonor to our profession.
Now only the pills stop me thinking about this shit. To not hear the explosions. I'm even scared of the dark these days.
Окей. Так, ладно.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? Have you heard anything?
It's funny, I've been searching for her too. I need some pills. But the woman is a phantom, if you ask me.
Really? And why is that?
Word is she ain't real. It's just a cover for some doctor who runs an illegal dispensary for migrants.
Оба-на, вот это
A
интересно
gun,
уже.
alcohol, and a bad temper make a terrible cocktail, sir. Goodbye for now.
Вот это вообще интересно. Так, откуда у вас такие прожектора? Потрудитесь объяснить. По-моему, тогда такого в принципе не было. О, кстати. Продолжаем по помоечкам лазить. Опаньки.
Good evening, Benjamin. Can I help you?
I'm afraid not, Mr. Reed.
Так, это
A
опять
gun,
ты, что ли?
alcohol, and a bad...
О, здорово, тетя.
Good evening, miss.
Good evening, sir. Are you interested in a miraculous cure for this unknown and deadly epidemic?
Actually, I am.
Then you have come to the right place. The famous Swanborough cordial is all you need to help keep you in perfect health.
Oh, really? Why didn't I hear about it during my studies? I'm Jonathan Reed, by the way. Dr. Jonathan Reed.
Ah, my brother has spoken of your research, sir. I'm Loretta Swanborough, and it's always a pleasure to meet a fellow healer.
Какие интересные вы.
Tell me, who intrigues you most in Whitechapel?
The region itself is something to see, but I would say Camellia the mute florist who gives away her flowers.
What do you think of the locals?
Most of them are afraid or desperate. They all come to me eventually for my remedy.
Да, блин, впаривает говно.
Cadogan Bates, without a doubt. The bloody bastard remorselessly exploits poor migrants as soon as they get here.
Окей. Что-нибудь есть, ничего нет.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? I'd like to know more about her.
I don't like to talk about competition.
Competition, you say?
Never met her, but it seems she provides some sort of medical care to the poor. The whole thing has to be some sort of scam, if you ask me.
Ой, кто б говорил.
I'd like to see what kind of medicine you're selling.
Так, у меня сколько? О, давайте возьмем. Так, бутылка алкоголя. Да блин, проще так будет продать. Так.
Gangs are ruining this neighborhood, if you ask me.
Ты у нас кто такой?
Good evening, Benjamin.
Да
Can I help
опять
I'm
ты.
afraid not, Mr. Reed.
Господи, ты достал уже. Так, где там вот эта ваша Петреска?
What do you want? Leave me alone.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. I'm looking for Nurse Dorothy Crane.
There is no Dorothy Crane here. Now goodbye.
I'm afraid this medical report says the opposite, sir.
Really? Well, I'm afraid I'm going to close this door right now. Go bother someone else, Mr. Doctor.
To enter that house, I must discover who this man really is. Maybe I can start by observing what he's up to.
Ага. Опаньки, вот ты чё как.
A strange man was at the door with a pass for our medical facility. I refused him entry.
Darius, how could you know he didn't need our help?
His clothes were too finely tailored to be for Whitechapel.
Perhaps just a friend of that stray poet who is always about.
Richard Nethercott? No, not of the same cloth, this man. I suspect some machination from that journalist.
Clayton Darby. Is he still asking questions?
Yes. I saw him drifting around St. Mary's Church. I swear he is tracking me just downwind.
Так, вот значит, что-то вы там мудрите.
I must talk to that journalist or the poet. They must know about Darius. Nearby the church they just mentioned.
Так. Сейчас пошли искать код хрена.
Excuse me, sir. I have a few questions for you.
Another journalist? I didn't answer the first one, so piss off.
I'm not a journalist, I'm a doctor.
A doctor, you say? It's quite a rare breed in this part of town.
Really? But still, here I am. Dr. Jonathan Reed, at your service.
I'm Joe Peterson to some, but Colossus Joe to most. And I don't remember asking for your service, sir.
Так.
According to you, physicians are scarce in this part of town. Why is that?
Not familiar with this neighborhood, are you? I guess your fancy colleagues are too afraid of being stabbed in the back.
This part of town does have quite a reputation. Would you say it's justified?
Totally. Look at me, for instance. I always look my opponent in the eye before knocking him out.
May I
Окей.
ask what you do around here?
I do whatever I want, and sometimes even more. Now sod off.
Какой ты вежливый. Ладно.
Have you heard of a nurse named Dorothy Crane? She's a colleague of mine, and is supposed to live around here.
Dorothy Crane. Yeah, I know her. One of the few good souls who dare to help the sick around here.
Could you please tell me more about her?
She's a nice girl. Tries to help the migrants. I offered to give her a hand, but she said my reputation would attract too much attention.
Ладно.
Goodbye, Mr. Peterson.
Прям даже интересно. Ну, кстати, я так понимаю, у нас довольно небольшой этот самый. Небольшая территория, так-то, если подумать. Так, а ты у нас что за хер?
Welcome, sir. Please take a browse of my wares.
I'm Dr. Reed. I would like to ask you a few questions, if you don't mind.
Doctor? Interesting. I'm Barrett Lewis. Usually I don't have
Ты
time to
на
wait.
Джарахова похож, что ты какой-то идиот. Окей, ладно.
How is business around here?
Business? I have no business. Between this racket, theft, and customers getting scared, I'm losing money every day.
I see. Sounds like you blame someone in particular for your situation.
It's no secret Joe Peterson spends his time harassing merchants. But with me, he's trying to put me out of business once and for all.
Окей.
As a merchant, you see Whitechapel every day. Have you noticed anything out of the ordinary recently?
What you mean besides the epidemic, the war, and all the usual crap? As long as I can remember, this part of town has been a bottomless pit, and no sign of the bottom yet.
Have you been hurt?
No, but that's only because I ran like hell. Those men were raving lunatics, I tell you. Not even able to speak anymore, just screaming.
Ага.
Violence is increasing in the borough.
Yeah. A few nights ago, some blokes jumped me. Came out of one of the condemned workshops. Fever, madness, something like that.
Where did this happen? Why did you go there?
In the closed workshops nearby. I worked there as an apprentice in better days. Now I only go to find trinkets or tools. Too bad I was mugged though. There was good money in that little box of loot I lost.
Окей. Интересно.
Have you heard of a nurse called Dorothy Crane?
Nurse Crane? So the bitch really is a nurse then? Always thought she was just some crafty foreigner, that one.
So she's trying to help her fellow immigrants. Why would that make her a villain?
Dorothy Crane ain't even a real name. Something like Dorothea Craniu. Something like that. Came to England fleeing the war, I was told.
That doesn't explain why she irritates you so much.
Your precious nurse Crane gives away medical supplies and prescriptions for free. I offered to sell it for a fair cut, but no. Miss Crane wanted to play the quiet saint.
Понятно. Интересно.
Right then. Show me what you have.
Так, а что у него есть? А, в принципе, ни хера у него нужного мне нет. Ладненько. Этот-то куда упиздюхал? Непонятно. Здорово.
Forgive my interruption.
Do not apologize, my son. Father Tobias Whitaker is always happy to teach mortals about the incoming Armageddon.
I am Dr. Jonathan Reed, and I just have a few questions.
A scientist? You are much more lost than I thought, my son.
Ты ёбнутый, да?
What do you mean when you say that I am more lost than you thought?
All scientists are entangled in a world of causes and consequences, and most of them can't see the plain truth.
Quite a judgmental opinion, if you ask me. But what do I know? Blinded by science as I am.
But you are seeking answers, aren't you? Answers about the Armageddon about to strike the city. Answers about the hidden truth.
Well, I suppose I can spare a few minutes listening to your so-called truth.
As a doctor, you must be aware of the decimating epidemic. But let me tell you that this so-called Spanish flu is just the beginning of the end.
What do you mean?
The beast is finally revealing itself, corrupting the flesh and the heart of men. With my own eyes I have seen them, those minions from the abyss.
И чё?
Really? And what would be your answer to this biblical threat?
We must fight the disease before this legion outnumbers us. But not with scalpels and microscopes. No.
What is left then?
Cleansing fire.
Ой-ой.
Tell me, Tobias, what exactly is your plan concerning the cleansing of this city?
God will recognize his own. More than once this city has risen from the ashes, hardened and purified by the flames.
Purification by fire has proved useful, but where do you stop? Burn the clothes? The buildings? The corpses? Worse?
Your lack of faith is predictable. But my task is to convince rational minds like yours to see the light. This is God's will.
You're mad and dangerous. You're nothing but a soulless butcher. A small-time Torquemada. The Savonarola of Whitechapel.
My son, if you think salvation is a free gift, go listen to the lies of that pompous fool, Joseph.
Joseph, a fool?
Vicar Larrabee of St. Mary's Church. While he continues preaching his fraudulent redemption, more and more people die in the streets.
Так, загипнотизировать я его не могу.
Don't you fear getting sick yourself?
I've been touched by God's grace. I am perfectly healthy.
Ясно, понятно.
Have you any friends? Any family left in these terrible times?
No. But I have a disciple I see as my son. He is so devoted. I sent him to preach the good word in the heart of this corrupted city.
Так.
Where did you send him?
I sent Samuel to the Stonebridge Cemetery, where the pestilence and evil grows night after night.
Хера себе.
You sent him on some preaching crusade during the epidemic.
As a true believer, Samuel will fear no evil while he walks through the valley of the shadow of death.
Ой, блядь. Ну даешь.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? I'd like to know more about her.
I don't like the liberal ideas of nurses, but I especially abhor that Nurse Crane you mentioned.
So you're not exactly a fan of Florence Nightingale's work. But nurses are essential for modern healthcare.
Nuns should be the only women allowed to take care of male patients. It's obvious only they have the necessary moral fiber.
Понятно.
Why do you hate Nurse Crane more than other nurses?
Before coming to London, she was a member of the communist resistance in her country. That's what happens when you let a woman get involved in politics.
Ой, какой интересный
I've heard
пиздец.
enough for tonight. Goodbye.
Ай, я бы его сожрал, честное слово, блин. Там надо такого мудилу найти. Какого-то запредельного, блин. Опаньки. Хера себе. Вот вы молодцы-то, гондонов все понаразводили. Ага. Так, здесь закрыто.
Morbidity can breathe its own beauty and grace.
Здорово, чувак.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. I would like to ask you a few questions.
Please be my guest. Although I may not be the best informant regarding this part of town, my words speak about that which the eyes cannot see.
Really? Are you an artist of some kind?
I'm a poet, sir.
О, а вот и он.
Richard at your service.
What are your thoughts on the terrible situation in this city?
Terrible, you say? No. Of course, the death of so many innocents is a tragedy. But the scourge has not been all bad for the city. Oh, no, sir.
What are you talking about?
Do you remember London before the flu? Noisy, cacophonic, quiet nowhere to be found. And now, listen to this oddly peaceful silence.
Вот да.
Yes. The enjoyable silence of the grave. You have a unique perspective on the situation, I must admit.
Most people fail to understand my perspective. I don't blame them. But how could I call myself a poet if I veiled my feelings?
Окей.
May I ask what you're doing at this hour of night, sir? Do you live here?
Not at all. I'm just enjoying the pleasure of a quiet walk. Though night talks are always preferable, if you ask me. Especially with strangers.
If you say so. But as a physician in a time of epidemic, I must caution you to avoid unnecessary exposure, sir.
Thank you, Doctor. But we both know the seeker of truth has to go boldly where the weak dare not.
Окей.
But are you not afraid of the epidemic?
Oh, why should I? I see some equity in the Spanish flu. No flesh should be saved, say the scriptures. Good or evil, rich or poor, all are equal in the eyes of the flu.
Ай, блин, стихоплет хренов.
Are you aware that your life could be in danger in this part of town?
But this is where I must be to feel the real beat of the city. I had to come, see it for myself, alone.
Ай.
I understand your need for solitude, but it's not safe around here.
I don't care. I don't have many friends, Doctor, and my family despises me.
If some misfortune came upon you, Who would be here to help you?
Well, you for a start, my dear doctor.
Ой, наглый, а. Где вы таких, блядь, берете?
Tell me, Mr. Nethercott, why seek inspiration in Whitechapel?
The place is not beautiful per se, but how to explain it? Stirring and challenging.
In what way, exactly?
The struggle by gaslight, the barren smiles and the added hunger under the rain.
If you say so.
Such vibrant antagonism and vivid
Ой,
paradox.
чувак, ты поехавший, по-моему, да?
Raged across each street.
Vivid, of course, yes. And what about the poignant distress?
Oh yes, the poignant distress. You see what I mean, don't you? That's what I want to write about, and that's what Whitechapel is made of.
Do you not think it a little morbid?
On the contrary, sir, Whitechapel is full of life, full of beauty. Just like my dear muse, the wonderful Camellia.
What can you tell me about Camellia?
Not much, and that's the beauty of it. She can't speak, you know. She's a locked mystery who exhales kindness and sweetness.
Серьезно?
And have you ever tried to learn more about her? Where she lives, how she survives, whom she may know.
Maybe I prefer she remains an enigma. Reality can be so dull, don't you think?
Ай, блин.
Perhaps you're just afraid to find out the truth about your muse.
One day, perhaps, I'll ask her to come with me. But will she still be my wild flower of Whitechapel if she moves uptown?
Ай, блин. Мужик. Ты точно ебанутый.
May I ask you a few questions about the district?
Extraordinary part of town, is it not? I'll be glad to help you, if I can.
I'm looking for Dorothy Crane, a nurse who lives in this vicinity.
Dorothy Crane. Oh, I love the name. The Crane of Whitechapel. Sounds very mysterious. But, sorry, no, never heard of her.
Okay.
What can you tell me about an old man called Darius?
Darius Petrescu? Yes, I know him. At first, I thought he was only a small publisher. I invited him to publish my work, but his reaction was pretty clear.
Not interested in your talent?
Darius is an old political activist who takes delight in printing tracts and lampoons. Those communist activities only require mediocre writing skills.
Окей. До
I'll
свидули,
leave you
чувак.
alone, sir.
До свидули. Ладно, пошли второго искать. Думаю, как раз на нем-то мы сегодня и стараемся закончить. Это нигер. Это не он ли нам нужен?
Excuse me, sir. Are you familiar with this part of
А,
town?
вот он.
Name's Clayton Darby, reporter.
Sorry, I'm new to Whitechapel. But perhaps you could help me since you're a journalist. My name is Jonathan Reed.
Dr. Reed, the famous surgeon. I'll gladly help if I'm able, sir.
А чё ты черный-то?
Have you any idea of the danger you face in these streets at night?
I've had to run and hide more than once from frenzied mobs incensed by the fever. Do you think the flu is really responsible for this, Doctor?
I'm convinced there is more at work here than a simple epidemic.
Really? To be honest, I could say the same. Some of the sick I saw or heard of. My God, what happened to them?
Okay.
Why are the newspapers keeping silent about the Spanish influenza? It's as though none of you care.
There's a war going on. People shouldn't be demoralized by news of deadly diseases.
Ну да, в принципе.
I served in France. Our top priority must be to put an end to this butchery. This war must stop now.
Sir, streets are a battlefield too. An invisible and untold war is going on, and it must be stopped.
Окей.
What is a journalist doing in this borough after sunset?
He goes where none of his colleagues would dare to go, to inform the country.
That's quite honorable of you. But is the public interested?
Not at all, sir. And that's why I'm an independent journalist, hoping to sell some stories.
Окей.
So you risk your life to reveal the truth. I saw many reporters do the same during the war.
Whitechapel is the crucible of so many untold stories and tragedies. I want people to know them.
Окей, интересно. Странно, подсказка открыта, но не
I
спрашивается.
heard you're investigating an underground medical dispensary in Whitechapel. What do you know about it?
Not much, I'm afraid. They are wary of strangers, and I'm not really an acquaintance of theirs. Why do you care?
I'm a doctor, Mr. Darby. I care about everything involving public health and this epidemic.
Are you sure you're not just concerned about the repercussions that a scandal involving a certain Nurse Crane from the Pembroke Hospital would bring?
Without a doubt, you are a damn fine journalist, Mr. Darby. What do you know of her accomplice, a man named Darius?
I don't know much about the man. He's very cautious. Never goes out. Doesn't seem to have any friends or family.
Окей.
He has no relatives at all?
No. Except for that strange man, a poet named Richard Nethercott, who sometimes comes by. Darius would never let him in.
Where can I find this Mr. Nethercott?
He spends most of his time lurking around Whitechapel, talking to himself or declaring verses. These days, you can usually find him behind the church.
Это мы уже видели.
He never goes out?
No. A few days ago, he unexpectedly did. I followed him, but it was just a ruse to keep me away from his house.
Really? How do you know?
He went to the nearest mailbox, but just before posting his letter, he ripped it up and threw it away.
Да. Странная затея.
Goodbye, Mr. Darby. Farewell.
Так, ну шо. Почтовый ящик и письмо, да? Это мы в следующий раз сделаем. Ставьте лайки, подписывайтесь. Всем пока.